Sporting Kansas City is closing in on restarting its season again. After being eliminated from the MLS's back tournament on July 30th, Sporting will have waited until this Friday to resume the regular season when it visits Minnesota. That game is for first place. Sporting and Minnesota United FC have the top two records in the Western Division. Sporting returns home the following Tuesday, and fans will be allowed in the stands at Children's Mercy Park on a limited basis. Beat writer Shaun Goodwin discusses these developments on SportsBeat KC. It's Wednesday, August 19th, and I'm Blair Kerkhoff. After a break, you'll hear from Sporting KC CEO Reid, who last week met with reporters about having fans in the stands at Children's Mercy. So here we go with Shaun Goodwin. Hey, Shaun, how you doing today?
I'm good, Blair. Keeping busy. How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's been a while since I've seen Sporting KC play, and it's been a while since Sporting KC has played in a season of starts and stops. They are I guess they're going to restart for a second time. It's just odd, isn't it? How I thought the MLS's back tournament was a great success for the league, but the fact that it went from the pool play into the knockout round. If you lost early in the knockout round, you ended up with a second delay in your season. So so the Sporting Kansas City and Peter Vermees and the team have had to negotiate a second delay. Their last game was on July 30th, and they won't play again until this Friday when they travel up to Minnesota. What do you think the impact of that is going to be, of just a second long layoff for these guys?
Blair, I think that it's not the worst thing in the world, this second layoff, for some of the teams got made it later into the tournament. I mean, even Sporting KC of the quarterfinals, because, yes, by the time they play on Friday, it's been about 3 weeks. But occasionally, if there's an international break for international play, sometimes leagues across the world will skip a week, and it's 2 weeks until teams play again. So yeah, it's a little bit longer for Sporting. I think it's a bigger impact on the teams that went out in the group stage, because obviously they've had an even longer layoff,
right?
About a month. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world just for 3 weeks, but the teams that went deeper to the semi-finals and obviously the final will, you'd imagine, be a little bit looser and fresher heading into this first round of games.
One thing is true, that when the season restarts for the MLS, the regular season where it picks up, Sporting Kansas City is in first place.
Yeah.
And with their 4-0-1 record, 12 points, they're 1 point up on. Is it Minnesota that's in second?
It should be. Give me a quick second to think.
Yeah, I know. I shouldn't have asked without being in front of me. But I know they're 1 point clear of their opponent.
Yeah.
Everybody's played 5 games, and
it should be Minnesota, because Minnesota right now, they're still undefeated technically. There we go. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's Minnesota. KC on 12, Minnesota 11.
So first place battle on Friday in Minnesota, and those were the teams that actually started the MLS Cup play, if I'm not mistaken. Right? They that was the first game for each team in the pool play, and of course that was the Tim Melia red card game where Minnesota scored the 2 goals. Right? Yes. So I guess when I think back to that game after the very long layoff for COVID-19, Sporting actually, I recall them dominating the first half of that game, getting a goal late in the first half, and it started to switch momentum-wise about 10 or 15 minutes into the second half, with Minnesota starting to assert itself a little more, and then of course the red card for Melia just changed everything, and this rivalry that's supposed to be the nice rivalry really is, I don't know how nice these guys are to each other. Yeah. This is pretty intense. I think it's a pretty intense rivalry.
It's getting pretty tense nowadays, and I'm sure, especially after the first pool game, it'll be a little bit more intense as well. I mean, like you said, it's Sporting, I won't say dominating, but they could have been, I guess, 2-3-0 up by the time Minnesota started turning the screws. So you'd hope that would translate over to this game. But I think Minnesota and obviously fans are going to be back in the bleachers, so it's going to be a completely different atmosphere, which one we're not used to, with fans back in the
Exactly.
stadium.
Yeah, I want to talk about that in a minute, but let me before we leave the sort of the current state of Sporting Kansas City. The last time we watched Sporting KC play was against the Philadelphia Union in the knockout round of the
Hmm.
MLS's back tournament, and that was an abysmal game
Hmm.
for Sporting Kansas. The first half was I couldn't watch it; it was just awful, awful.
Hmm.
And you know, look, this is a good Sporting KC team. They made the offseason acquisitions that have improved this team. Is it is it unfair to say there would be carryover from would the last game at least leave a bad taste in the mouths of Sporting Kansas City as they resume the regular season?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, especially with a guy like Peter Vermees at the helm. He was. That's probably not resigned. I've seen him, but more he just said, "Yeah, we weren't ready for it." Blamed it on himself. But as we know, Peter Vermees and how relentless he is, I'm sure he'll have the guys fully up for this game against Minnesota, especially with it being a Western Conference game. I wouldn't worry about that being an issue. And again, sour taste. But the second half, Sporting, they plays well. They obviously got a goal back right at the end of the first half, and then they scored the marginally offside goal in the second half. So they picked up in the second half. It just wasn't enough, and I'm sure they'll be
Right.
raring to go on Friday.
There you go. Okay, as you mentioned, Sean, the fans will be back in the stands
Hmm.
for these games, and the after Sporting Kansas City heads to Minnesota on Friday on July 25th, they come home to play the Houston Dynamo, and we know that Children's Mercy Park will be is it 20%? Is it 20% of capacity? Some
Um,
2,500, I believe. Is that what it
14,
is that what it amounts to?
14%,
Oh, 14.
yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah,
but
thank you.
2,500 is a little over 2,500 by like 80 people, but yeah, it's 14% capacity, so that's 2,500 people inside the stadium. So we'll have an atmosphere again for once.
Yeah, I mean, earlier this week, the Kansas City Chiefs announced
Hmm.
that they'll have people in the stands for at least their first three home games, and that's going to be up to I think 17,000 at
Hmm.
Arrowhead, and seating in pods, no more than six in a pod, and the pods will be spread out throughout Arrowhead Stadium. Do we
Hmm.
know about what seating will look like with 2,500 plus in Children's Mercy?
Yeah, so they're doing the same kind of deal with the pods. It's essentially going to be how it'll be spaced out is you have 6 feet of space either side, and then 8.5 feet of space, like blowing above you. So same deal with pods, and obviously Aliski's first 3 games, it's only open to season ticket members. And Sporting has said most of the groups they have of season ticket holders are between 2 to 4. So you'll be looking at pods of about 4 people, and then there's 6 feet and 8.5 feet of space around them.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, okay, I'll be interested to see because that'll be the first team with the Royals not allowing fans at
Hmm.
Kauffman Stadium. Sporting KC will be the first, just as it was the first back on the
Yeah.
field in action. It'll be the first to allow fans through the turnstiles. I'll be interested to see
Hmm.
how that goes. Hey, I did want to ask you another sort of a procedural question about the MLS. They've only scheduled six more regular season games,
Hmm.
and we know that there will be more before the regular season ends on I think it's November the 8th.
Yeah.
But why schedule just six? Are they trying to I don't know see where things stand in a month, or what's going on with the sort of the partial scheduling announced by the league?
Yeah. I mean, as you said, it's just kind of seeing where we are heading, in a month's time, in 3 weeks' time, even. And, they've called it phase one. So I'm sure once we
Right.
get 4 or 5 games into this phase, if the league hasn't, if cases aren't blowing up around the league, players and fans in the league isn't getting a terrible rep, I'm sure then we'll see phase 2. And I imagine that'll be another 6 to 8 games, and then one more phase after that, I would imagine, up through November 8th.
Right. And the MLS Cup we know is scheduled for December 12th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a couple other topics I wanted to cover with you. First of all, there's a new name. There's a name for the latest addition to the MLS, and
Yes.
we tell us what it is.
St. Louis City FC. So going to be
What
a
do we think?
I-70 rivalry. I like it personally, and I've had plenty of discussions about this, Blair, about yeah. But I've had people argue like, we've got Minnesota United and Austin FC and New York City FC, all these kinds of generic names, and people are saying MLS is losing its American uniqueness, like the earthquakes in the galaxy and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I always say that at the end of the day, this league is trying to make itself more respected on a global stage. And I can just say, obviously, being from England, people might not like to hear it, but people in England see like LA Galaxy and Houston Dynamo and kind of snick at it because it sounds a bit like a beer league name in England. Um, so, and I know it works for other American sports, but because MLS is trying to be global, I have no issue with the, St. Louis City FCs and trying to think what else, Cincinnati FC, Atlanta United. I'm okay with all of those personally.
Right. Orlando came in with that as well, and
Yeah.
listen, I'm a convert. When the Kansas City Wiz and then the Wizards
Hmm.
switched to Sporting KC, I was skeptical. I can remember, I'll never forget the press conference to announce the name, and it was this, I think, more groans than cheers from the fan base. But part of that too was just the previous iteration of the franchise just wasn't at that point hadn't been successful,
Hmm.
and it was just like, oh gosh, and now they're bringing out this name that doesn't make sense from an American sports perspective,
Yeah.
and and then and then Children's Mercy Park was created, and the whole thing won. I think everybody, it certainly won me over and won everybody over, and it's just. I think the Kansas City MLS franchise is just a good example of how a nickname change and a team name change can have a terrific marketing impact
Hmm.
on the fan base, and of course it helps that it's been so successful with the two MLS Cups and the U.S.
Hmm.
Open Cup success that this franchise has had. So I think it's cool too, and I hope a rivalry does develop between
Yeah.
the Kansas City and St. Louis soccer cities. And I've said this too, that it's amazing to me that it took St. Louis this long to get a franchise in MLS. I know there are some political reasons for it, but St.
Hmm.
Louis was one of the original American soccer cities. It was St. Louis U was a soccer power back in the
Hmm.
'60s, winning NCAA championships, and St. Louis gave a lot to American soccer in its early stages. So great for St. Louis to have a team. Looking forward to seeing Sporting KC and St. Louis games. That'll be fun. Okay,
Yep.
let's. I want to wrap it up. You've got a story coming up that I'm really excited about and looking forward to. It's about the Sporting Kansas City Academy. Tell us about what we're going to see.
Yeah. So it's I guess it's presented by Bleacher Report and kind of powered by Audi. And essentially, it's an in-depth look at the Sporting KC Academy. It's 5 episodes. First one was released on Wednesday, so I guess when this podcast is
Well,
released,
today, in fairness,
yeah.
we're taping this
Hmm.
Tuesday afternoon, and it'll be released today, which is Wednesday.
Yes. So that breakout drop today, and then basically it's going to be a episode a month up through Christmas. But yeah, it's an in-depth look at how the academy system works for Sporting KC, and it's the first in-depth doc that's ever been done, on for such a large platform, looking at a MLS academy team. So it's a great chance for Sporting KC to showcase how they have 7 homegrown players, and I believe there's 8 or 9 guys in the SKC2 team who came through the academy. And just for, to show how Sporting Kansas City produces so much talent and what they're doing correctly. So it's a great testament to the coaches and the work they've done over the past 10 to 12 years, really, since Academy Director John Parry came into the scene.
Oh gosh, I remember John Perry for sure. I had a son who grew up in the youth soccer programs in Kansas City and in Johnson County, and and look, it's just amazing, really, what's gone on with the academy and the development of soccer and development of soccer players and athletes in the Kansas City area. So really looking forward to that, Shaun. Okay, hey, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll hear a little bit from Sporting Kansas City CEO Jake Reid, who met with the media last week to discuss the seating arrangements at Children's Mercy Park. So, Shaun, great catching up with you, and we will talk to you again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Blair. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening.
Hey, Jake, thanks for taking the time to do this today. I'm curious, Sporting held a lot of different events at Children's Mercy Park over the summer. How much did that help in deciding capacity and how well equipped your team was to provide a socially distanced and safe environment for fans?
Yeah, thanks, Allie. It was a huge help, right? I think it's important to maybe say, we're not really deciding anything at this point. We've obviously had consistent talks with both Unified Government, KCK, as well as the state of Kansas throughout this process, so that they're really the drivers of what we can and can't do. But for us, we wanted to have a couple of at least events so that we understood how to operate, what that looks like. There's a ton of new protocols in place, clearly opening the doors to fans for that first foray was not ideal. So that was immensely helpful and certainly some lessons learned there as we prepare for return to market here in a couple of weeks.
Next question will go to Greg Eklund with NPR affiliate KCUR. Greg, your line is open.
Good morning, Jake. Can you tell us what the timeline is on what you decide?
Yeah, so still working through some final details with Major League Soccer. We've had, again, more discussions than I can even count at this point with both the city and the state in terms of their medical professionals guiding the process. So, we're looking at August 25th on that first match back at home to be the first event with fans in the building. So, again, important to note, we could actually do more capacity than we are going to roll out. We just feel like being conservative and making sure that we're taking the safest approach possible has been our go-to throughout this process. And certainly the last thing we want to do is come out, larger than we need to. So I think starting small and then getting our arms wrapped around the process, and then at some point building from there makes sense. But for the first 3 games, we'll be set at kind of that 14% capacity, which that's out to ballpark 2,500 folks in the venue.
Next question will go to Blair Kerkhoff with the Kansas City Star. Blair, your line is open.
Hey, Jake, I just wanted to know how encouraged you were by the MLS's back tournament experience for the team and for the league.
Yeah, it's a good question. We were all nervous going into it, right? It's a cliche in 2020, but you don't know what you don't know. And so getting into the bubble and immense success, first of all, and I give the league a ton of credit. I would not have wanted to be the commissioner or anyone in the league office having to go through deciding all of the process for MLS's back. But it was fantastic, and I think if you look at our team, they performed well. A couple matches where we would have liked to have done better, but overall, I think an immense success both from our standpoint to come home in first place in the West, and also from the league. I think the tail end of the tournament, I think they did 35,000 tests and 2 positives after you kind of had the Dallas and Nashville beginning. So again, hard to argue that the protocols were not excellent along the way, and I think a huge success for the league overall.
Next question, we'll go to Harold Kuntz with Fox 4. Harold, your line is open.
Do you feel like the rules you guys have put in place could kind of set some parameters for some other leagues that are looking at maybe trying to put in some attendance, notably Major League Baseball and the NFL? Because I know the Chiefs and Royals are probably looking at you guys thinking, okay, 14%. You feel like you're laying some of the groundwork for them?
Maybe that's not the intent by any means. We feel, and I'm not familiar with what those what baseball or football have talked about, just for context. So I don't even want to comment on their process they're going into. But yeah, listen, for us, again, it's less about what I think. It's more about, I say this all the time to our staff, I don't pretend to be the smartest guy in the room because I'm usually not. And so having consulted with all the medical professionals, that's really been our driver through this process. We feel like we are above and beyond the protocols that we need to have in place as it's defined by the CDC and the local government. So we kind of took that and went beyond. I think we're optimistic that this can, be, proof of concept for others, but certainly that's not the agenda that we've got. Our agenda is pretty simple, which is safety of our fans, players, staff, everyone that's going to be involved in a match. And that's the sole driving force as we've kind of put this plan together.
Next question, we'll go to Mark Burns with the Sports Business Journal. Mark, your line is open.
Thanks, Jake, for doing this. I guess my question is, with the 2,500 fans, from a financial and economic standpoint, just given the limited capacity, does it even make financial sense for the team to even have fans to turn the lights on and open doors? And how did you guys kind of calculate the economics of that?
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, Mark, to be honest with you. I think the driving force, again, not financial in this decision whatsoever, as we've done a couple of fan surveys throughout the last few months here. There's certainly a majority of our season ticket members who have expressed that under a safe protocol, they'd be comfortable and would be excited to return. So we feel like we've got the demand, and ultimately we just don't know where this thing goes down the stretch, right? And if it gets into a position where everyone's got limited capacity, whether it's throughout this year or as we go into 2021, we want to take baby steps along the way. And so for us, the real driver was just being prepared, starting small, getting our arms around it in that way, depending what happens down the stretch or as it goes into 2021, we feel like we've at least got a great plan that we've already executed upon, and we'll see. But like everyone else is doing right now, we're in constant communication with the local governments. Just as things change, we'll adapt as well. And this is the current set of circumstances that we've got as we head into August, and we'll see what happens after that. But if financial was the driver, this would probably not be a great decision, like most things we've done in 2020.
Next question, we'll go to Shaun Goodwin with the Kansas City Star. Shaun, your line is open.
Hey, Jay. Obviously, everything went great in MLS's back tournament with the bubble and all the protocols. Obviously, you guys also have your own safety protocols, but are you still worried at any sort of backlash from the general public of allowing fans back in the stadium?
No, it hasn't really. That's kind of not how we think about the process. I mean, for us, this is not political whatsoever. I mean, that's not even the decision-making, in our process. So we've been, again, we've tried to just operate off the facts. We've listened to the city and the state, and that's been the sole driver. So I try not to pay attention to social media and anything else these days because it's so polarizing that's not a good metric to use to make decisions. And so for us, we've tried to just look at the facts and talk to the experts who actually know what they're doing, and that's how we've made the decision. So do I expect some folks to be excited? Yes. Do I expect folks to be not excited? Yes. There's always going to be two sides to the story, but again, for us, it's just been kind of what do the numbers tell us and what do the experts say, and that's how we've come to the conclusion.
Next question will go to Blair Kerkhoff with the Kansas City Star. Blair, your line is open.
Hey, and Jake, have you consulted with like an area sports architect about spacing in the stadium, and how will you deal with the Cauldron seats?
Yeah, we did not consult with anyone. Our internal ticket folks, came up with the layout. That's the model that we use to talk to the local officials about the spacing. Breaks down to, I think it's 6.5 feet to side, and there's 8 feet of separation between front and back. So, for us, it's most of our ticket holders are in groups of 2 or 4. So you're going to see pods of 2 or 4 largely. We just don't have a lot of 6s or above. So the reality of the layout will be pods of 2 to 4 that are at least 6.5 to 8 feet separated, and then the GA sections in the venue. So you've got the south stand, which is general admission. That is going to be reserved moving forward. So we will not have GA there. And then the Cauldron will have clear markings on the north stand for the supporters as to where they can and can't sit. So it'll be very obvious. Again, we'll have kind of pre-positioned pods that they're available to go in. And that's one of the areas we're being uber conservative in. We expect 200 in there to start. We've got approval for almost double that, but it's a nuancey space. It's different. We didn't want to take any chances in there, so we're probably starting way less than we need to, but we felt that was the right thing to do.
Next question will go to David Smale with the Associated Press. David, your line is open.
Hi, Jake. Any idea, or have you determined how you're going to distribute the 2,500 tickets? Obviously, you have more season ticket holders than that.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to go through. So we're working through that. I think we've got a good plan. It's the simplistic version is basically going to be a lottery process. We went through a million different scenarios of longevity or spend or seat category, and we didn't feel there was a fair and equitable way to do it other than just completely random. So that's where we've landed. So the process will happen this week with our ticket folks going through. Think of it as a snake draft. Basically, if you've got the first option to pick for game one and you select your seats, you'll go back to the end of the draft, and it just kind of will repeat through the process. So I'm not going to pretend like that's the best way to do it. That's how we felt was the fairest way to give everyone an equal opportunity to select seats.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to our production staff of Derek Donovan, Randy Mason, Beth Welsh, Jeff Rosen, Savannah Smith, and Chris Pickett. Tip of the cap to Shaun Goodwin for stopping by and talking all things Sporting KC. Links to stories about the team can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Earlier in the episode, you heard me talk about the Sports Pass offer, $30 for a year's worth of sports coverage, and that includes the Sports Extra that comes with the e-edition. Here's an even better offer. Buy the entire Kansas City Star product. Sports news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole bit. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus extra news, sports, and business coverage that comes with the e-edition. The details can be found at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. That's account.kansascity.com/subscribe. And whether it's the Sports Pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back on Thursday with another episode.